What's going on, everybody? Josh McCarty with Built In Buffalo. And today I want to talk about the Bills' top 5 needs going into the 2023 NFL draft, as we are just over 2 weeks away from the draft. And we are going to see what the Bills choose to do with the 27th pick. And then obviously in the rounds that follow round number one. My top need for the Bills, probably not much of a surprise, is going to be off ball linebacker, middle linebacker to be exact. Now, I don't think that there is a linebacker in this class that's going to warrant the 27th pick. I know there's a lot of Bills fans out there that really like Jack Campbell from Iowa. We talked a lot about him on our defensive prospects episode on Bills Chat earlier this week, and we will be doing some quick hits analysis of Jack Campbell and other top prospects in the coming days. But that still doesn't erase the fact that it is a glaring need on this team. Right now, the Bills only have Terrell Bernard, Tyrell Dodson, Balin Spector in-house. They didn't do anything to address it in free agency. So right now, that is the biggest need, although I'm still not convinced they need to spend their most important draft asset to fill it. Coming in at number 2 for me is wide receiver, and the Bills are pretty well stocked at wide receiver as it stands for 2023. They have Stephon Diggs. They have Gabe Davis. They brought in Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield, and they still have Khalil Shakir going into his second year. But when you look under the hood of the position, the Bills have Gabriel Davis, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Diggs is going to be 31 next offseason. They only have Diggs, Shakir, and Hardy under contract beyond 2023. They need to start adding some bodies to the pipeline. Now, the Bills have done a good job of piecing together the wide receiver core under Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. 1-year deals for Emmanuel Sanders, going out and getting Cole Beasley and John Brown, who ended up becoming mainstays in this group. But it's time they add some youth, some high-end prospects to this group that can grow with Josh Allen. I think they need to do that in this draft, and I expect them to do that on one of the first 2 nights of this draft. My number 3 need for the Bills is offensive tackle. And make no mistake about it, Spencer Brown had a really down year last year. I think there's still a lot of potential there for him. He did have a back injury in training camp that held him back, but you can't go into year 3 just expecting Spencer Brown to be fine. It's time to push him with legitimate competition. The Bills did go out and retain David Quessenberry, brought him back on a 1-year deal. That doesn't really move the needle for me. I don't feel overly confident if Quessenberry has to play extended action for Deion Dawkins or Spencer Brown. I would be okay if the Bills spent the 27th pick on a tackle if the right guys fell to them. But in general, I want the Bills to be aggressive in adding a tackle to this group. I thought they might do so in free agency. They chose not to. They still could. There's somebody like George Fant out there. I think there's a very good chance that the Bills in this draft look to add a tackle that can come in and, one, compete with Spencer Brown, or at the very least, upgrade the swing tackle situation the Bills have on this roster. Because right now, if Deion Dawkins goes down, they are in serious, serious trouble. My number 4 need is kind of a sneaky one. It's defensive tackle. And when you look at it, the Bills are in pretty good shape with who they have. They have Daquan Jones, who was outstanding last year. They have Ed Oliver, who's good, not great, but good. And behind that, they brought back Jordan Phillips, and they still have Tim Settle on the roster. That's a pretty good 4. The issue is all 4 of those players are playing on expiring deals. I think the Bills can fairly easily lock up Daquan Jones, and I would expect them to do so this offseason for an extension because, 1, that gives them immediate cap relief of about $5 million. And 2, he played at such a high level for them that it just makes sense for the player and the team to keep him on the books for the next couple of years. Ed Oliver is going to be very tricky. We already saw Jeffrey Simmons cash in big time with some bank with the Tennessee Titans. I do not expect Ed Oliver to come anywhere near that pay grade, but I expect him to want it. So I expect him to hit free agency. I don't think the Bills are going to give him that. And then Tim Settle and Jordan Phillips are probably going to hit free agency as well. So I would like to see on day 2 or early day 3, I don't need the Bills to do this in the first round, go out there and get somebody to add into the rotation, add into the mix. I can make the case for a nose tackle. I can make the case for a 3 technique. We will be getting into some prospects we like at that position in the coming days. Luca and I on the Bills Chat Defensive podcast that dropped yesterday did talk a lot about defensive tackle if you want to go back and listen to that. But I think the Bills need to be somewhat aggressive in trying to find a defensive tackle to add to the room and to have somebody on this roster beyond 2023. My last need for the Bills might be a little surprising. I still think the Bills have a need at edge rusher. And yes, on Monday, the Bills brought back Shaq Lawson. And what that means is they are essentially running it back with the same five edge defenders they used in 2022: Von Miller, Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham, and Shaq Lawson. And while this group was strong early in the year when Von Miller was healthy, the issue really became that after Von Miller was out, Gregory Rousseau was dealing with a high ankle sprain. You didn't see really any juice from Boogie Basham. AJ Epinesa had his moments, but really has not distinguished himself as anything more than a rotational piece in this league. And while Shaq Lawson is decent against the run, he leaves a lot to be desired as a pass rusher. I think that the Bills still should have the appetite to be looking to add some juice to this pass rush. Do not forget that while it's nice to think about Von Miller coming back, he tore his ACL on Thanksgiving. If you're going to compare that to Tre'Davious White's timeline from 2 years ago, Von Miller may not be back until November at the earliest. You have to find a way to elevate your pass rush to get through the first 2 months of the season. And even when Von Miller comes back, it's good to have another body in there to add to the rotation. I don't care about Boogie Basham. I don't care about AJ Epinesa, who's going to be on an expiring deal anyway. They've had plenty of opportunity. They can still compete, but the Bills need to be beyond the point of relying on those guys. The other thing is, this is a very, very deep edge class. In the second, third, or even fourth rounds, the Bills could get a very high impact player that could come in and have a real shot to unseat one of those two players. I think they need to dip their toe in the water there, see if they can get lucky and find somebody to add to this group, because I understand that Bills fans have been disappointed with some of the names they've pulled back in the draft in recent years. That is not a reason to not do it again. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did I get the top five needs correct? What do you think the top five needs are for the Bills coming up in this draft? What's coming up on this channel, though, is Stokes and I are going to be talking about prospects we like, some of the hot names you've seen tied to the Bills. We'll talk about Jack Campbell. We'll talk about Zay Flowers. We'll talk about Bijan Robinson. We're going to have videos dedicated individually to all of those players, talking about the fit that they have for the Bills. So keep a lookout for that. I do want to remind you that Stokes, Luca, and I will be live during the draft on Thursday night for the entire first round. So we would love for you to come in and join us. We're going to be doing a watch along as we talk about every pick that happens and what it means for the Bills, reacting to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some special guests popping in as well. And if you could, please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out so much as we are trying to make Built in Buffalo your one-stop shop for Buffalo Bills off-season news. I am Josh McCarty, and I will see you next time on Built in Buffalo Quick Hits.